going on, everybody? Welcome in the Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman. Coming up on today's show, I want to give you guys my instant reaction to the Vikings finding themselves a Week 2 victory over the Cleveland Browns as they ended up winning 27-12 as Kevin O'Connell heading into this year's preseason did not win a single game so far in his NFL career, but he starts off this year 2-0. But before we dive into that, guys, if you guys love the Minnesota Vikings and are excited that football is back, give me a skull down below in the comments section. I want it looking like US Bank Stadium on game day. Flood the chat, show off your purple pride down below, and give me a skull in the comments section. But let's talk about the man who I think was the star and the biggest storyline of this game. How about Lewis Cine, former first-round pick out of Georgia? He dominated the Cleveland Browns in this game. I have his stats for you guys. He had 11 total tackles, 5 solo tackles, 1 tackle for loss, 1 PBU, 2 quarterback hits, had a sack, and he also had an interception. He was all over the football field, and I will give Kevin O'Connell, Brian Flores credit. They played him this entire game. And, you know, whether that was them playing a little gamesmanship, if they are planning on trading him because he, you know, right now I'd probably put it as a 50-50 chance on him making the roster. Maybe it was a little bit of them saying, hey, we're going to get more tape out there since he has only played 10 defensive snaps in his entire NFL career in a regular season game. Get more tape out there on Cine. He lit it up. He was fantastic. He also had a sweet TFL on a third, and it was about a 3rd and 7. He just threw it in the flat route. It was a great tackle, but we saw the tackling ability. We saw his ability to cover tight ends and running backs out of the backfield, and it honestly just made me happy for a guy who I believe, you know, I think injuries obviously were the biggest reason why he hasn't gotten his footing in the NFL so far, but also the Vikings have a loaded safety room, so maybe he ends up cracking this rotation, but I did want to start off today's show just showing love to number 6, as this is a guy I will always be rooting for in the purple and gold. But let's kick it offensively now. How about Nick Mullens? Looked pretty good in the first half. Didn't like light it up, but he was 11 of 21, 135 yards, had that touchdown to Tristan Jackson, which was an absolute seed of a throw by Mullens. And I swear to God, every time I watch this guy play, I feel like I'm watching a poor man's Brett Favre, where it's like every single throw is either to the house, you know, going for 6, or it's a terrible throw for an interception. Today was kind of the complete opposite. He looked very calm. He looked very controlled in the offense. And I'll give credit to Kevin O'Connell. You know, there are some days where you could have me in at quarterback and just in the system that KOC's running, you look pretty good. And then also the other quarterback who played the whole second half, how about this guy right here, Jaren Hall, going 4 of 5, 87 yards, 2 touchdowns. One of the touchdowns to Malik Nolis was following the Dwight McLeather almost pick 6. He had literally 5 more yards for a 90-yard pick 6. He just got tripped up right before the end zone. But then Jaren Hall found Malik Nolis on a fade route. It was a beautifully thrown football. And then his other touchdown, play action, booted to the right, dropped it over the top of the safety, and then Jayshon Jones did the rest, and he took it to the house. So also shout out to the UDFA out of Maryland. He popped. He was the guy I was looking forward to, you know, watching the preseason, and he looked pretty good today. But I do want to focus in here on a couple of receivers. So there's a lot of conversation on what is going on with Jordan Addison, because he was carted off the field Wednesday during joint practices versus the Cleveland Browns. And, you know, apparently he avoided major injury, but there's still a huge question mark if he is going to be available for week 1. And he also has that 3-game suspension looming for the DUI just a couple weeks ago. But the Vikings, this wide receiver room, they stepped up. I know Jalen Nailor only had 1 catch for 31 yards. This was a sweet back shoulder catch following the performance he had last week against the Raiders. And that was even on top of the performance he had during training camp, during OTAs. And we finally saw it come to fruition out there on the football field. Shout out to Speedy Nailor. I think even if Addison is there, this is your wide receiver 3. But if Addison misses time, he could step in and be wide receiver 2. And how about this guy, Tristan Jackson? Why can't he be wide receiver 3 for this unit? I think it is no doubt he is going to make this football team, and it makes me incredibly, incredibly happy, as this is a guy who has bounced back and forth from the practice squad to the 53-man roster, and he's never really gotten a chance during the regular season to prove himself. But what has he done in the preseason so far? 139 total yards, 2 touchdowns, 7 receptions, lighting up the stat sheet, and it doesn't matter who's in at quarterback. JJ, Darnold, Mullens, Hall, Tristan Jackson, number 8, is getting it done. And, you know, point being, if Addison does have to miss time, if we got to roll with Jefferson, Nailor, and Jackson as our 3 wide receivers for the first couple of weeks, I'm honestly not too worried about it whatsoever. But you guys get out the red pens for me. Grade the Vikings' performance versus the Cleveland Browns. What did you guys see out there? How did this football team end up shaking out? You guys give me an A, B, C, D, or F down below in the comments section. For me, I'd probably give them a solid A-. Clean football game. And also this, no injuries. That was the best part of today's game. But I got more takeaways coming for you guys here in just a second. But first off, got to tell you about today's presenting sponsor. That is PrizePicks, the #1 daily fantasy sports app out there with over 5 million active members. And PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps on PrizePicks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Get in on the daily action with your friends and become part of the PrizePicks community today. Now, PrizePicks, if you want to add any more juice to your viewing experience, as a lot of these preseason games do get a little boring, but if you guys want to add more juice to your viewing experience, PrizePicks is the way to do so. And we already got a lineup for week 1 of the football season. I'm riding with Caleb Williams, more than 236.5 passing yards, taking number 18 and is more on his receiving yards at 89.5. Then I think Caleb's going to be finding DJ Moore a lot in week 1, so I'm going to take the more on his 63.5 receiving yards. But download the PrizePicks app today. Use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code CLNS on PrizePicks for a deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. I'll put that link for you guys in the comment section and description of today's show. But shout out to PrizePicks for sponsoring today's instant reaction from week 2 of the Vikings preseason. Now, I do want to give some love to the defense here, as, you know, another big storyline of the game was them shutting down this Cleveland Browns offense after the first drive. First drive came, Browns went right up and down the field, scored 7. But besides that, the Vikings defense really locked it in. And Tyler Huntley in the second half, you know, had a good game besides interceptions, but Lewis Cine got the best of them. Francis also had an INT to close out today's game. But the one focal point of this defense that I've seen over the last 2 preseason games, shout out to the run defense, because D'Onta Foreman, 10 carries, 18 yards. He couldn't get anything going on the ground, and this is a very, very good running back here for the Browns. But I was looking at guys like Bo Richter, who also had a sack today. I don't see how you can possibly leave him off the final 53-man roster, but even saw Asamoah get in on the fun. And then also that Lewis Cine sack that he had, that was an unreal play by him. You were going up against Huntley. He tried to make a move on him, and Cine broke his feet down, laid the boom. And also another Cine play that just popped in my head was when Huntley was scrambling right. Cine met him at the first down marker and absolutely smoked him. His helmet ended up flying off his head. So Cine was the biggest reason why this defense, you know, performed well. But in all, the linebackers, the defensive line, they were huge against this Browns, you know, rushing attack is why they couldn't really get anything going there. But more player stats for the Browns. Zaire Mitchell-Paden had about 4 receptions, 59 yards. One guy on the Vikings secondary who I wish performed just a little bit better today was a Caleb Evans. He got beat a couple of times. It was that 1 4th and 2 on the first drive. He was beat on a slant route, tried to fight over the top for the PBU, and it literally just so close to getting that, you know, either PBU or popping it up for a potential interception. So I would have liked to see more out of him. But the Vikings rushing defense looked great today. You know, I think us Vikings fans needed some positivity after the week we've had, and the defense did so. Lewis Cine did so. So shout out to all the guys on this Vikings team. You know, definitely made this game a whole lot more fun to watch than I thought it was going to be, you know, heading into the game. But hey, if you guys made it to the end of today's show, give me a skull down below in the chat if you guys didn't do so already, and I'll really, really appreciate it. But also, if you guys want to give me a follow on Twitter, that's a handle right there, @PatSieps. If you guys do so, I'll give you a follow right back. But we'll see you guys next time. As always, Skol Vikes.